Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I had to say hello because the music was bumping. But sometimes when the groove takes over, you must dance. Dance.
I dance a lot. They
You
have
do.
a lot of footage of it.
We both prioritize dancing in our lives, sometimes over common things like introducing the show, starting on time, ending on time. Dancing does take the limelight.
Ending
for us.
on time is definitely the one I think that gets pushed back the most.
It does happen, but wouldn't be the party boys if we didn't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense for me. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After that break, we saw the illustrious G2 Esports lossless in this season go again with another victory over Renegades, and now we will be transitioning into our second matchup of the day to end this week of the PPL in North America. Team Envy versus Splyce. Now, story of Envy, they have to obviously win every game from now on to make sure they are taking second place. They have a game in hand, so they will be playing an extra game over Renegades, who just lost one of their two that were remaining in the season. How do you feel about the confidence level of Envy heading into this matchup with Splyce?
I feel like for Splyce, pretty confident, right, overall. But one of the things that they've had for me specifically has been kind of shaky play, right, where it's almost felt not themselves ever since really week one. Like, they've had some moments that it's like, that's the Envy we know and love, and then where'd they go?
I mean, how much do you think it is that week that, Rock Monkey took off and Random Noob was really carrying the squad as far as damage? Do you think that there was this kind of getting back to form that they had to go through and are still going through here?
I don't know if it was as much of a back to form as much as it feels like they've been trying out strategies, which I think is good, but you have to choose the appropriate times, right?
Sure.
Obviously, scrims are really great for trying to figure things out, but you never get to know how it's going to work truly until you get to throw it into a PPL match. But the problem is, who are you choosing to play it against? Like, are you trying something completely fresh against G2? Probably not the best idea, unless you are someone like Splyce or SK, in which case you're just seeing what can the best of the best do if we throw a Willow at the wall and see what they can do, versus, okay, we're going up against Splyce. If we want to switch Rock Monkey onto something completely different, a Random Noob even, then this is the time to try it.
Well, its aspect is a really important kind of aspect to this team. I think the way that he shifted in, obviously Ozone leaving and opening things up for G-Bunny, and I think Ricotta to also take control in these matchups here, let alone Vayne, who's captain of this squad. I think that there's just so much room now for Aspect, for Shadow, for Ricotta to really flex not only on these triple DPSs, but have those game-changing moments.
And I mean, this is a brand new Splyce, right? They have a win now. They've put themselves to the point where it's no longer, okay,
right.
we're 0-24 plus whatever it was during this split, looking, at the potential.
We are now
1-32. It's like, we're now 1-24. But, you can erase, I want to say, those first two, like season one and split one,
get
just
those
because
out of there.
It wasn't the same team. And now they've been able to come through. They've been able to exceed what I would say Splyce's expectations are at this point, where it's just like, all right, we've had two splits essentially where teams have just come out with nothing. You finally come out with at least one, but you can ride that momentum into this game, try and come in. And Envy's looking maybe a little bit shakier than they have in the past, so this is the time to win.
Oh, yeah. There's never been more of an opportunity, I think, for Splyce to take a game off of a team like Envy. But it doesn't mean that they're going to do it. Envy are fighting for just as much, in fact, way more than Splyce, because it's a chance at LAN. It's a chance for prize money. Although these players are salaried in the PPL, it doesn't mean that they're not trying their best to get here and get the extra prizing. And just the claiming of authority that I think heading into the back half of the year when HRX is approaching at DreamHack Atlanta in November and Fall Split is to be determined as how that prioritizes, but will be happening sooner than later. You want to make sure you head into those big moments with as much momentum behind you.
And honestly, you want to make it to every LAN you can. Because
LAN.
no matter what, when it gets to the end of the day, if you make it to HRX but you haven't been to a LAN before, your team's going to experience LAN nerves. And it's something that doesn't happen as often to a lot of these guys, because a lot of these teams have tons of LAN experience at this point. But there is a certain amount of, if it's your first time at LAN, it is a different experience, a different feeling. You have, everybody there. You've been able to mingle with a bunch of people who are just as interested in the game as you are. But then game day comes down and you're like, if I lose here, we have to sit in this hotel room knowing that maybe it was my fault we lost.
Maybe it was. It was your fault, Core.
It was my fault. I throw every game.
Your casting just didn't give them the lift they needed, dude. All right.
I was just saying I was a bad player, but that works too.
Yeah, that works as well.
Bad player, bad caster, same thing, right?
Core, don't you do that. We're the party boys. We're not the get down on yourselves
Get down on
broadcast
yourselves.
boys.
On broadcast. Save that for after
Save
broadcast.
that for after broadcast. Cassie picked up for Splyce as far as the bans. And Khan banned out as well.
No surprise.
No surprise there, absolutely. And then Genos here taking for Splyce. It's Makoa, so it will leave open a lot of deadly potentialities here. And they're going to go for the buck.
So if I'm Envy here,
wow,
Maeve is open. And Maeve is maybe asking to be picked.
Maybe.
Especially with the way things have been going. This is a good map for her, but Envy also has some prioritization. This is one thing we've been seeing lately. There's some compositions where Maeve is actually better to pick up. If you're like, okay, we'll go 4th, 5th on our side, which might be 8th, 9th overall on the pick. Just kind of push her down a little bit further, where she's still going to be really good, but you can notice the big difference is the map definitely playing its favor. Right now, I'd say to Splyce.
Yeah, I like Buck in term. I like Damba in term. But Fernando and Shaolin is kind of the everything squad right now. They've got so much on the table as far as pressure, flexibility, the ability to rotate onto fights and have meaningful damage no matter where they are. And now you're adding an Inara, pretty much the best point front line aside from Terminus and Maeve. You know, this Strix is going to have to pay off big. We know Ricotta can do it, though.
Yeah, this is one of the things, this map, I always feel like Kinessa, just because of her mobility, always has that little bit of a leg up, but that invisibility and being able to reposition specifically for this map, there's going to be 3 spots Strix is standing, and the fact that you don't know which one he's standing at is going to give him that small advantage to get that shot off early on.
Yikes, but Grover coming in as well, it actually kind of cuts off, most literally with his axe, but also figuratively an angle that he can play because you just don't reload, you toss them into that side, that corner, that angle that Ricotta wants to sit, and he has to move. And that's your support, getting the backline sniper out of the fight. So it's a really good draft here from Envy. Can they pull it off?
I'm kind of curious to see what talent this is going to be running. I'm going to assume he's focused more on healing, but we've seen Ferocity kind of creep back for a couple teams, a couple players. And it's usually when there's like, okay, we have a Genos, we have a Maldamba, so you can run Ferocity. Have your fun. But in this case, I'm kind of curious if Envy is just like, let's just go all out damage assault.
I'm curious, too. Let's find out. Let's send it to Game 1 here with the casters, Nick and Gabby, down in the casting booth live in Studio 5 to get ready for some Splyce and Envy action.
He remembers what studio number this is. I couldn't tell you if we weren't standing in it which box it is. Good on you,
It looks like
Rinde.
Studio S.
Yeah.
Because it's backwards, kind of 5.
Well,
I don't know.
5 and S would still...
Oh, yeah, they do kind of look the same. So Studio S.
Cool.
It almost looks like half of like a handicapped like wheelchair sign.
Yeah, nobody can actually see what we're looking at. Like, what? What is this? Half wheelchair? But
I guess we should probably stop talking
yeah,
about it, huh?
probably everybody. We're here in Studio 5 to bring you game number 1 of Splyce versus Envy. Splyce coming off of their first org victory in the PPL, and Envy, whereas, yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
They're jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, very different opponents that they're heading off against. SK has been looking a bit disjointed lately. And
Doo-doo, I think was the word you were looking for.
Well, you said it, not me. I like to keep things nice, Nick.
Doo-doo's a nice word.
It's a juvenile word, that's what it is.
Hey.
But I like it. I say that recognizing sometimes you need those juvenile words.
I bring words from all walks of life to show that I've been there. Can't forget where you come from. You can't forget that you used to be a child.
That's
or
true.
in my case, still are.
Alrighty. Getting a little insight on your casters here today. But Splyce and Envy. Envy, I would say, looking a little rusty against G2, but I wouldn't say doo-doo as a team overall. They've been keeping themselves in the running, just have had some bad days. And right now, though, Splyce first to the objective, and on Ascension Peak, nonetheless, it should be interesting.
9% on the objective here. It's due to the cover on the point. Frontliners can be on here and be safe at the same time. So you tend to see more drawn-out objective fights. It's also the largest, I think, by consequence, rather, the largest objective in the game of any of the maps. No first bloods just yet as we pass 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock.
Actually fairly slowly moving. There's your first blood. Random Noob taking out Ricotta. Not just fighting-wise, but on the point as well. There hasn't been any major progress one way or another. Random Noob has brought this Maeve to another level in his past play, and now getting another one onto Vayne. Most of Splyce goes down. almost quietly, just one by one.
Especially because it was at the Masters land that it happened, and the competition there is going to be as high as it is anywhere in the world. Random Noob had the most impressive Mave to me personally, and I think he's definitely, when he can get the pick, has upheld that title, but it has been banned out rather frequently, and probably for good reason against Team Envious.
Off of the back of those kills, 96% for Team Envy. A little bit of a rotation around, as you can see Shadow wanting to step onto it, but has to back off in the meantime. Ruger picks it up onto Ricotta, and Random Noob takes down the Buck. So here we go. Few ultimates actually coming out. A hop overhead from G-Bunny, but nonetheless eliminated.
And I'm not sure whose map, I'd love to know whose map pick this was. I want to lean towards Splyce because we saw them play it against SK.
I had that thought too.
When they did end up getting their victory. Envy, it's just because, okay, yeah, this is a Splyce map pick. I was going to say, Envy has never picked this map. And the only other time we've seen it was, I think, the spring split when SK were messing around. Like, right when it came out, SK would mess around on here. But other than that, it's just been Splyce that selected it. Late in their set, you could see some of those highlights from last week where they did get their victory. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're feeling confident here. They've gotten a couple wins out and around here.
And you're going against high-profile competition. You might as well start off strong with a map that yourself might be more familiarized with as far as the best strategies in your opponent. Envy, I'm sure they put in the work, but it's kind of that when you're in the bottom part of the standings, sometimes you'll see the teams lean more towards, if we're the first to adapt this map, then that can be some way to make up for a deficit. And that's potentially the direction that Splyce is trying to go with Ascension Peak.
And I think it's kind of twofold when you do that with a map. When a map comes out, you put the time in, you get good at it, and everyone's first experiences, or roughly first 5-10 experiences on the map are getting dumpstered by you who have put work in on that map. That's going to deter them, I think, from wanting to play this map. They're going to have, PTSD flashbacks whenever they do get brought here and you stomp them out. Rubu puts a very aggressive Immortal down just to save, I don't know, I guess maintain CC immunity there. He wasn't exactly unhealthy. But the fight taking place all over the board at the moment.
But it kept him and his team. They're still around. Random Noob gets another one onto Shadow. And a bit of a spread from Team Envy right now. They're not necessarily grouping in any particular way. Still keeping with the payload to a certain extent. As you can see, Tolkien babysitting it a bit. But Splyce know on the opposite end the exact directions on which people can access through their flanks and are keeping an eye pretty keen on those. Here's the Midnight. Another smack into the Buck, but too much sustain. Aspect goes down to Rock Monkey, a pounce, and G-Bunny's in trouble as he's sandwiched between a couple.
Yep, he's just barely staying alive, though. This Stomp, I don't know how much longer he can keep this up, though. G-Bunny floating right around death. He has Reanimate available, but with him even reanimating and still being the only member of Splyce here for the defense, it looks like he will let it go.
Aspect jumps down to keep it going a little bit, but nonetheless eliminated. And with that, Envy, they get the 2-0, but it is a map that takes a bit longer. It was kind of this very steady progression throughout.
I don't know about personal favorite champions, but for me, you look at this Envious composition, and you say these players are all on their, some of their best performing champions. Outside of the Grover for Mr. Hayes, that's really like a viral thing for me at the moment. I don't think anyone else has adopted that as heavily as he has. But I mean, my goodness, Envious, all kinds of comfort across the board, and it's starting to show. Morale boost 3 after just one round for Mr. Hayes. 85,000 healing, and you have to imagine a lot of objective time to boot.
Whenever somebody does
Dear God.
bring the Grover out.
He's rich. Can we look at the net worth chart? Like, how many credits has he actually earned?
I'm rich. Well, I can't finish the rest of that phrase. But yeah, he's at the top of the...
I mean, I would let you. I don't care.
But I'm going to take the safe route at this point. But working into Tier 3 after one round that was a 2-0, but you kind of got the benefit of maximizing the amount of time it took to actually punch that. But little disorientation. Rock Monkey waited for the ice to melt away so that Aspect could get melted down as well. Splyce, once again, they just lose both of their flanks right now. They got that 27% with comeback mechanic, but Team Envy, Mr. Hayes, Rock Monkey, Tolkien, everybody picking up kills onto the enemy.
I haven't seen him miss a shot yet. And I don't have a lot of surprise in my voice when I say that, but it's definitely not good for Splyce. And that's one of those things that's just frustrating, because there's really nothing you can do to make him miss a shot. I mean, it's one of those days for Team Envious right out of the gate here on Splyce's map pick as well. This is essentially, you know, an away game for them.
There you go. One went off.
So smart.
The
you know,
one.
he knows he's going to get sniped if he launches another arrow. And it's just, man, the trigger discipline.
It's pretty crazy. There's a reason that the admins say they love watching through his monitor when they're at LAN, and they're just watching all the players as they play.
Ha-ha!
So Ruber gets
Can't hit shots if I put you in a power siphon, idiot.
well, 99% overtime, going pretty strong. 2 down on both sides, so it's whichever are up currently who's going to hold it down the best, and Tolkien has no problem sticking around even when he's low on HP. So, Team Envy get point number 3 of the game on Splyce's map pick.
And there's going to be a whirlwind available for them, as well as a heat haze. It's pretty much just always available. He's crushing it on the healing charts. 19 assists as well. That's got to be helping, you know, supports their credit economy. And the efflorescence being able to heal so many people from such a long distance. It's not only Genos that can, you know, now keep up in that crazy assist, that crazy streak column, but Grover looks like he might be throwing his hat in that ring as well.
And on the opposite side, Splyce, they're attempting to find the proper position. You see the aspect gets one onto Mr.
What?
Hayes, so
That Eevee just blinked off the map, dude. Don't think I didn't see that aspect.
yeah, we saw it over the head from our perspective. And
Who did that last week? Who was that?
it was somebody.
Help me think.
Or was it
That
earlier?
was Madara. Somebody from VP. Or Unlimited Power? I don't know. Somebody.
Maybe. I think Unlimited Power was on the blaster that game. But here's the Heat Haze, Rock Monkey, looking for his targets. But even right now, even if he doesn't go super crazy and get a lot of kills, the team is just holding down quite effectively, manages to land a couple shots. Random noob eliminated though, so waiting for him to come back. And G-Bunny, who is now just the man running the shots, it seems, in comms and everything for the team, despite being the newest player on the Terminus, is having a hard time facing off against the rest. Rubu once again popping this Immortal to get himself into the face of the enemy front line in pursuit of this Strix as well. Burns him down with the help of Rock Monkey, and now they get to rotate around, find Vayne however they can, just eliminate the healing, cut it off at the seams. The Terminus is here, but not for long if they have anything to say about it. Rubu just basically took a lap around the map.
Ryan Wong is, I mean, you could see the moment he saw those low squishies in the back line, he goes, ooh. And he just charges off into the distance, wraps around that whole fight, kills everyone, almost gets a 4K there. Incredible stuff from the aggressive front line from Team Envy.
Feeling like Emoji familiar and just wanting to devour his enemies in that case, and had no problem doing it. Last 15 seconds before overtime potential. G-Bunny's been doing everything he can to try and get aggressive into the face of Envy, but you can only last for so long, even with the help of the healing from Maldamba. Shatterfall right into the back, but gets stunned out and locked down. There's the reanimate. Rubu got that previous kill, but maybe the swinging will be enough. A Dread Serpent and a Buckwall from Shadow. Is this their last-ditch effort to keep this going? But there's a shield right in his face. Rubu into a little bit of trouble.
Everybody looking to thrive in the chaos, but as the kill feed starts to fill up red, it looks like all Envy. One more shot. It's good on a random noob to take him down. Shadow backs off, recovers. Rubu's hot on his trail, but will it be enough DPS? Rubu thinks so.
Not on my watch. Runs right for the face and doesn't look back. Rakata's on the high ground. If he can manage to get a couple picks from there. Well,
you see what I mean about that though? He's like shooting halfway through. He's just like half scoping for accuracy, and then he just shoots. He just knows where the shot's gonna be at that point.
We've seen that more frequently from Strix players as well.
Yeah. Awkward.
Aww. The ice block didn't save you there,
that face when you don't have SOAR after you jump out the window. Oops.
Oopsie daisy. And, you know, in another time, maybe no one would have seen it. If it wasn't here on broadcast, he could have just went, shh, it's okay.
I see everything, especially when it comes to Eevee.
Where'd your streak go? Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. But
I didn't want to feed a streak.
it was all purpose.
I had to kill myself. Aspect is struggling a little bit, though. Top, almost bottom of the damage charts. If you don't consider supports on that chart, he is essentially the bottom there. I believe 2 and 10 was his slash line. Bit of a struggle for the young lad who's flexing around on and off support here and there with Vayne, depending on what else needs to be picked up for this comp.
Pretty rough stuff. Envy not feeling too rough, though. as they're 1 point away from taking game number 1. Splyce, early impact on the objective. G-Bunny, even Envy seems to be waiting before they really have any attempt to collapse so they don't become too vulnerable to anyone who might flank from the enemy. And Random Noob, a little... yeah, it's tough at the moment. You see the flashes. You see the flashes around his face. But another Heat Haze. One shot into Shadow, one into Vayne. Looking for another, but he circled around this column. Seismic Crash on the objective with the Whirlwind from the Grover to boot. Answered with the Dread Serpent. Manages to add a little bit of separation, but it's Rock Monkey with the 10 streak and landing nearly all of his shots. Will Splyce finally get separated from the pack at this time?
Capturing away, though, comeback mechanic in hand. They've built themselves a nice lead. Splyce picking up a frag here or there, staying alive in the objective fight, as well as on the point capture, 74-0, but the kill feed is starting to look a little red.
Every time we look at G-Bunny, he is on the objective, and no one's been able to take him off it yet, more because they're just focusing on other targets. But Rubu, Rock Monkey, they put in the work. Another one from Rock Monkey, and Random Noob, he sees the Terminus. Just decides, this is a nice place to just set my daggers for a little bit. Takes him out, and now Team Envy have control of the point.
Well, fortunately for Splyce, there is no comeback mechanic for being up. So this is just the beginning of the end. Hopefully they can get in there before the end of all things has come. And they're smelling a flank, but no one having full vision just yet of Buck over there hiding in the hallway. G-Bunny's making his way downtown. Gets walled off, has to take door number 2, but everything costing Splyce precious seconds.
99%, there's your overtime. Another pickup for Random Noob. G-Bunny had to spend so much time just trying to get back towards this objective. The Buck Wild too. Maybe this is some opportunity for Shadow, but he ends up getting taken out after popping it and after that kill. And Rock Monkey, a great angle. Another Whirlwind because that morale boost is put in the work as he swings away, attempting to clear the path on this point.
Overtime, ready to just explode. You can see how fast the meter is trying to reset itself, how quickly it will expire. If somebody gets off of it, there's a killing spree in the back line. One more shot would have been good, but Rubu's already found the killing blow.
Dread Serpent as well. Strix falls into too much trouble. No, not G-Bunny's the only one alive. No reanimate available to him, and even if he did, it's hard without the rest of your team. So Team Envy take game 1.
A lot of pressure coming out from Rubu there. Incredible healing from Mr. Hayes, the front line, and the support doing a lot of work in that game for Team Envy.
Ascension Peak, even when it is a 4-1 situation, does feel a bit longer because you're usually using at least the entire push time. And they spent a good portion of the first round. Just everyone took some time off the point. But in the end, patience was key, and Envy closed it. So let's send it back over to the desk to hear what they have to say.
Hey, well, it's been an interesting one here to start. We have Envy running away with it in moments. Ricotta having some great sniping moments to hold it off for the 3-1. But then at the end of the day, again, the flexibility of the damage, Rubu with that double kill at the end just makes the difference.
I will say that looked a lot like the Envy that I was kind of missing, and I want to just go back to like last week was really the one where it's just like, man, you guys didn't feel like yourselves, especially in the SK games. The last 2 games felt a lot more Envy than they did in this game specifically. You could tell the comfort from Rubu, from Rock Monkey, where they're just like, I'm Fernando or I'm Shaolin, everything's great.
Yeah, and that's the thing, when you get Rock Monkey on a bow character, everything feels good for Envy. Splyce aren't at the position, I think, to be able to take away what feels good for Envy. That's the problem. I think they have to try to still find picks that work for them, that they know they can perform at this level with against a team that's won LAN, that's contested Fnatic time and time again, that is potentially and at one point considered the best in the world and with the best player in the world. So you can't really outdraft them, and that's difficult because Envy often makes sure you take something that's worse while they get something that's better. It's a tough, tough road ahead for Splyce.
I was kind of hoping we would have had it in there, but there was one moment, and it wasn't really a glamorous kill, but it was just something, again, that I think speaks to Rock Monkey and like his comfort on Shaolin and like the bow characters. He gets flashbanged. He sees right before it happens Eevee go into the ice block, but then he can't see. He's blind, and then you hear it break, and he just lets go. Because he was like already kind of aiming that way, and it was just the perfect shot, perfect time. And again, I think that's the kind of comfort that I was missing in the last couple weeks. We've seen him a lot on Xin, and I like the idea that Envy are trying to bring that in and have more people who can play it, but I feel like you just can't beat this guy when he's on Shaolin.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the maps for Game 2. It's coming up to be a very interesting last day of the PPL this week, where Envy and G2 are supposed to be maybe BB get a little bit of, I guess, resistance, but it hasn't shown up too much. They've been doing really well, just kind of walking the park. Business as usual for both top-tier teams, and Brightmarsh will be the map for game number 2.
And I want to say, when you're on Ascension Peak, that one, it goes a little slower, right? It's kind of like the slow start.
A lot of action all the time,
this
but
is
hard
where
to...
things can really spiral out of control, right? Where it's
yeah.
like, okay, well now you're on Brightmarsh. Like you look at Ascension Peak or Split Stone Quarry or any of the maps like that. You're not expecting 4-0s all the time.
No.
You look at Brightmarsh and you're like, if you let a team get out of hand, and Envy with Khan can get out of hand,
it could be bad.
It spirals out of your control faster than you can count.
And I think that's a great pick to grab because it is a very out-of-control first pick off the fight, easy, and it's a 5v4 snowball that, again, on a map like this can be super taken advantage of. You give them a Bomb King. You don't ban out the Shaolin as well, so Rock's comfortable. You got flexibility for Random Noob on the BK. He could be defensive. He could be mid. He could be flanking. Rough here, but Splyce gets some good picks as well with the Makoa, the Buck, the Zen, and the Genos. That's strong.
I think there's a couple picks coming in, so they're going to go for Fernando. I was kind of curious as to what was going to be the second front line for Envy. If they were going to go towards Inara, I like Fernando because I feel like that gives them the aggression they want. I mean, give them Aldamba, you keep them healed, Shaolin, Bomb King. This is a little ridiculous.
I mean, but the thing is, Envy, they're so comfortable, and Splyce have to do this. They have to get uncovered picks themselves to allow Envy to be comfortable as well because they can't ban enough out to where Envy will be out of this matchup, right? Knowing the Drogos is a threat, everything, the Cassie, the Maeve. And so now I think you just see Mr. Hayes, Rubu, Rock Monkey, Random Noob, Tolki, all of these champions fit their perspectives and personas.
We always talk about when champions kind of fade in, fade out, when they're really good, when they're really not. And Nara, for a long time on land, she gets picked up. Not seen at all right here. And that is something, again, not necessarily a big tell, but I just like seeing things like that when they do shift out.
Yeah, when you go triple DPS and you go Makoa instead, and then Rubu feels more comfortable on an aggressive front line like Fernando, lets you know how they're trying to play to match the triple DPS, because Fernando, he's a fat flanker. Let's send it back to the casters and see if they can go and take us through game 2 of Splyce versus Envy.
Rubu does like the flat flanker. Fat flanker?
Flat flanker.
Flat
what are you
flanker,
trying to say about Fernando's physique? Now that we've established that I resemble Fernando, I'm taking a little bit of offense to this.
Well, I don't know if
got
that's
some
my
curvature,
problem.
all right? If you look, play with the angles.
Do we really know what's under
slide a
all
filter
the
in there?
Armor, though? We know his armor is all...
sheer man. That's what's under there.
Just directly under the actual
Absolute
metal.
Beast of a man.
Oh, the conversations we have here.
You might say, even. You might go so far as to say an absolute unit.
Okay, well...
Fernando's a big boy, you know?
He is.
Is he the tallest? Who's the tallest? Anara, actually, I think might be the tallest character. But... I don't know. It's like kind of like Terminus has that like World of Warcraft orc thing going on where he's really hunched. So if he stood all the way straight up, he might be. Khan is pretty big as well.
Is Barrick the shortest?
Yeah, Barrick.
I mean, Makoa can be short.
Goes round. He is very spherical.
When he's down on all fours, he's the shortest.
He might not be. I mean, Talus is super small. Eevee's super tiny. I don't know.
Eevee's tiny, but she's not that short in comparison. But I don't know. We'll line them up at some point.
Well, she's like a child.
Yeah, just like Talus.
She's small for her age.
Yeah.
Anywho,
yes. Anyway,
this is going to be a slugfest. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I think everyone got everything they wanted. And these two compositions, Rubu will be the first blood there. Tolki just seconds too late to provide the peel.
When around the corner, old Splyce said, "Hello, my friend. We're here to give you a warm welcome as we send you to the grave temporarily." Envy, even with the loss, it's fairly early. They can regroup. Splyce 42% onto the objective. Getting really aggressive with that pick, but Rock Monkey, Random Noob putting in their work. They take out this frontliner as well as Ricotta.
I don't know what he was doing back there, but obviously punished for it. 45% gained from Splyce on that objective for the time being. Remember, this is Envy's map pick, so we expect them, if they're able to take Ascension Peak away from Splyce, we expect them to be able to show up here on Brightmarsh. But again, similar to that one draft in the G2 Renegade set, this one is weird because so much makes it through. So I feel like, I don't know, Splyce will still absolutely have a chance here because they got a solid draft.
It's 51 to 48% right now. Super close. Nobody's standing on the point just yet. A final rotation over from Splyce. But Random Noob's taking to this window so that you can peek in and just deal that damage from afar with a certain level of safety. Aspect hopping right onto the roof currently. But everyone's taking their time moving in. Rubu and Random Noob get a close that onto Vayne and Shadow.
That looked like firing line to me. That is a lot of bonus damage for Paulie P to be working with. He is already such a vicious player. I mean, you give him a power pick, you back him up with a con, and you give him room to work. It's all over for Splyce as Envy take the first objective.
How nasty. That was just such great setup. And I love the way that you look at Rubu and we talk about him being this aggressive frontliner. And even though he paid the price early on with First Blood, he was just ducking into all the side rooms on the outside of this capture, and then whoever the backline was would just duck behind him, get a few shots, and it was almost like, okay, you got your shots. Okay, let's back out here. Let's go to the next rotation. And grouping and pairing off with a buddy in that time really helps them out and just creating that space and alleviating the pressure. But Shadow uses his ult to go ahead and punish him.
Somewhat inconsequential, but that's Xin ult at base, so I don't mind. You can use that whenever you want. I won't honestly have an opinion either way. I'm just thinking about, like, if anyone ever gets Furia and Khan at the same time, God bless their enemies. I feel like that's going to be an insane comp. Just the things I feel like that front line and that support can do together in terms of DPS output, sustaining one another at the same time, just being so mobile, so lethal between the two of them, and both of them having massive like iframe opportunities with the Furia ult and the Khan shout. I mean, that's going to be one hell of a combination if it ever. I don't think it'll ever make it through onto the same team, but like I said.
But there's actually through time and space, Mr. Hayes picks one up onto G Bunny. We talk about these great support players that we've seen. Nice shots for Kata onto Rubu. Sick. Actually, a double kill for him, using that ultimate to do so to get that 50% charge back, but a little low on HP and has to back off. Nice on the Leon there. Oh.
G-Bunny runs it right at the gut. Straight up playing fullback right now for Splyce on his horse. Almost tramples Rock Monkey and then just puts a couple of cannon shots and down for the win. And what a bounce back from Splyce. I mean, you have that incredible enlightenment. Those are the enlightenments that you do because you don't want to die and you maybe want to drag your life out another couple of seconds. But not only to get the kill onto Rubu, which honestly that easily could have been a triple lined up, I feel like. But it's at least one there. Rukata bounces back with a quick double kill and then stays alive.
But that was the use of the ultimate to finish off Aspect. We're in the final 10 seconds to go of this push. Splyce losing one on their defense, but it's not long before he respawns. Somebody's got to hop on down to attempt to stop this, and G-Bunny is the one standing on by. So standing on the objective instead, rains a few shots into the enemy Nando, taking out Rubu, and overtime continues, but it's a 2-for-1 trade so far.
Rukata's just been so aggressive on this Leon. It's, working out some aspects, and then other times you will see it pay off horribly as he does go down there. Gets nothing for his troubles, and then Random Noob is allowed to safely walk into a backline and destroy it from there.
Boy, oh boy. Envy push it through successfully. And great moments at times from Splyce to get it all the way to that point. That's what it was. He could have
almost hit all 4 of them. That would have been nutty.
He survived after getting the double kill. And that offered so much time to just be wiped off of the clock on that defense. But in the end, some results from the side of Envy in the final moments of that fight, and then rotations just couldn't spawn up quick enough for Splyce.
Top damage, though, is going to go to Shadow by a small margin. Jano Zin's showing that it still has some merits as he is doubling the damage that Aspect has been able to put out on this Buck. It's been a struggle for Aspect now, 2 games in a row. The EV performance leaving something to be desired, and now Buck not finding his footing early on as well.
That can be pretty rough. You're having a rough time on EV rate, and then you think, okay, well, maybe it just wasn't jiving with EV at the time.
Buck's easy.
But then
I'll
you
play
go,
him.
yeah, let's try Buck. Everybody's got a little bit of Buck in them, but then that doesn't work out either. At what point are you just worried and get pretty frustrated with your play? G-Bunny, after that ultimate, just gets burned down. Everybody looks straight at him.
Ooh.
Has to withdraw to get out of that through time and space. Pretty bold move right there, and Vayne gets punished for it.
That would have been, I mean, that was a good idea. If he didn't have withdraw, he was probably dead there. So it's a delicate dance that Vayne And Rock Monkey begin to do nice reposition there. G-Bunny will not pursue, even though Random Noob didn't quite make it all the way to where I think he wanted to. A little bit of poke damage here and there. Makoa up on the high ground. Gonna have to reposition that Grumpy Bomb would stun him out. Otherwise, he's gonna come to the low ground and get met with an immediate stun by Mr. Hayes.
Lots of grouping onto the objective this time from Envy. Last time, most of them were circled around the point. A far rotation from G-Bunny.
Wow, wow, wow.
And Rock Monkey so close to taking him out, but he gets taken out instead. 96%. Envy throw out the Dread Serpent. Here's the Immortal as well from Rubu, facing off against Makoa as he rotates onto the objective, forcing the frontliners on the enemy side off. And overtime reaches its completion in favor of Splyce, but an opening onto Aspect. Can somebody make it back through? Rubu looks like he wants to try, but gets gripped up. So instead, Bomb King makes his way to the sideline as Tolki stands right there in the middle and Envy capture.
Rough stuff there. Splyce let it slip just at the bitter end.
Yikes.
And more bombs are coming through now. Overall, though, I feel like Aspect and Rukata should just switch characters. It feels like Rukata should be playing Buck. The way he's positioning, the way he's diving the backline, Aspect is almost always showing up after the fact, and this Leon is already dead for the most part. I don't really get the aggression. Hasn't paid off, 3 times now for Rukata.
Maybe that's something that they'll work on once this.
Maybe that's the plan, and he's just the only one that's able to get there in time. Maybe they just need to work on coordinating it and getting back there and striking all at once. Because you saw G-Bunny was in the backline, so was Rukata, but it was kind of like G-Bunny died, and then Rukata died after that, and then Aspect was there, and he died by himself, and it was like if they were all there at the same time being a threat at once, maybe that works out better for them, but they've got to figure out what their plan is going to be because they've got about 3 seconds to figure it out.
Look at this smooth roll from Envy. Another Enlightenment, but this one doesn't connect for any kills through time and space. Also missing, but getting a little bit of a clip. Leon into some trouble. Rock Monkey landing one shot. You heard the Ancient Rage go off as G-Bunny takes down Tolki, but Rock Monkey still kept his sights onto Rukata. Gives him that not-so-fun treatment with a whole minute and 10 seconds to go on this push. It's actually getting a little bloody right now. Splyce even picking up a couple kills.
And I mean, Bomb King can be so good, so dangerous on the fadeaway, turning the tables. Pauly picks up a couple of kills. Now surging forward, Tolki on Khan, looking for some more damage. But you see what I mean? Rukata, again, he was the deepest one there and just died for it. He wasn't in the backline. I don't know.
But Envy, they're totally okay with punishing that.
So aggressive, Gabby. I don't know why he's got to be out there that far, you know?
Maybe if we
what
say
the hell was that
hear us.
positioning there, brother?
There's a team wipe. Buck brings himself back, but not in time. Envy, takeaway game number 2. It was their map pick. Pretty cool composition coming from him.
What a waste of an overpower. He would have dove back there on his own anyway, you know? Come on, Rubu. Be better than that for Tolki.
You never know. Maybe he would have backed off.
No. Rukata's hitting the gas pedal this set. at all times. At all times.
It worked out earlier when you got the cool, and that was kind of just more of a responsiveness to him getting chunked down that then he was able to turn into a positive. But hey, Splyce, they've got some work to do if they want to keep themselves.
He was in the back line
in
when that
set.
happened. The one successful moment was from the back line from Rukata.
Dusk, what did you think of Rukata's aggressive play?
Well, obviously it didn't work out for him. I'd say Splyce can look at results and say it didn't get any, and so therefore you have to question whether that was the right move. Overall, it's kind of a hard thing to go about because Envy just looked good as well.
They just got a draft, a map, everything really kind of lending its favor to them, and then they just played really well on top of it. So it's just like, man,
rough.
You have nothing that is going down for them, and you have to beat them. It is a very difficult mountain to climb up, and they didn't bring any climbing gear. There's no hooks, nothing.
No rope at all.
That's important.
Yeah.
You need your rope.
No rope at all. I mean, they only even got the shoes, the pointy shoes that you dig
ones
in
like,
there.
yeah, with the spikes.
Oh, man, they didn't have those at all. They have some just old New Balance and just like a
Meanwhile,
tank top.
Envy have a resident rock climber, so they know what's going on.
They got jetpacks. They're just straight up to the top. They're not even messing around with that. They're just getting carried. They helicopter all the way to the top, which is the way I've always wanted to climb Everest as well. Just like have a helicopter.
Just a helicopter?
Oh, yeah.
You climb Everest.
Or I get up, I climb, but I just, as Random Noob did, you do it a good way, in the way that's classy, that looks fresh. And then, maybe you exert some effort, but once you get to the top of the mountain, then you call the elevator, the helicopter to bring you down so you don't have to do the reverse trip. Because no one cares that you climbed down Everest. People only care that you climbed it.
You've got a good point there, actually. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And, he climbed to the top of the mountain, and He didn't leave. He didn't want to come down.
No, he's still
was just
there.
standing up there tossing bombs. It's the perfect angle when you have something with that kind of arc projectile, and that is exactly what he's able to do. This Bomb King looked, I think you just described it, clean, fresh, everything you would really want out of it. And again, you could tell that he has played so much of this champion, just movement like that.
Yeah, movement like that to make so synergistic to where you have no hesitation in movement, you have no loss of fluidity and no loss of damage because you can't round the angle before they get away. So it's 2-0 on Envy. It's up to them to finish off Game 3 and just cement themselves, basically taking the lead over Renegades here, still having only 2 losses if they can win this one, and tying up in the win column so that next week they may have a chance, even if, Renegades do end up beating them, to win on map differential if they even end up being tied. And if they win that set, they will for sure be moving into second place. So keep it all in their hands. They've got to win here.
I'm curious if Splyce is going to, well, first off, the respect coming out with a Fernando ban. They're just like, they're looking at Rubu and they're like, all right, cut it out.
Cut it out.
Stop it. But you also look at them and the way Ricotta's been playing, and specifically towards the Strix in game number 1. Those were really good shots, really fast reactions. I'm kind of curious if they want to lean towards a sniper here, or if they're going to try to shy away from that kind of play because it didn't work out that well.
I mean, I don't think the sniper is a bad pick, but I just think that everything they've done hasn't worked. So maybe you have 2 ways of thought, right? We go back to what we tried first game, or we go back to, or we continue to say, hey guys, that didn't work, let's keep throwing darts at a wall, see what sticks. And I think at this point, it doesn't really matter. For Envy's sake, they're going to grab the Kinessa. They're going to match them toe-to-toe. Again, this has always been Envy being comfortable. Splyce is trying to get comfortable as well and match them up.
I have to say, and I think this is very important going into this, that the Kinessa, I think, makes a huge difference for Envy. Because it was one of those things, that, and I think you could tell when Rock Monkey earned Fnatic's respect, was kind of with Shaolin, kind of with Cassie. It was his shots on Kinessa that I think really just drove the nail.
They said, wow.
Right? Where it's just like, this guy is just ridiculous at aiming. He cannot be stopped if he gets in the zone, right? Once he's there, his shots don't miss. And that is one of the deadliest things you can have when you put someone on a sniper.
And Ash getting brought out here, something that we've seen Envy kind of go to sometimes. Tolkien would be the one that in my mind would look towards that. But of course, Terminus is there as well, which could be a kind of a fan favorite as the Party Boys get ready to send it over to the casters here for game number 3. Splyce, will they come back and reverse sweep, or will Envy take the 3rd game in a row?
Well, we got that Ash for Envy, and we got, doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely, but that Victor on the side of Splyce.
No, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But still pretty cool to get to see him again.
Setting up for, I think, a rough game from Aspect. He's, played a victory. He's gone to this gun a couple of different times across a couple of different sets now. But with Kinessa and Drogos on the board, it's potential here for things to go awry. You do want that hit scan threat to be able to take out Drogos. But at the same time, he's killing you just about as fast as you'd be able to kill him.
It's Splyce's last-ditch effort to keep themselves in this set, and I think at this point they're in that place where they're not really thinking about land because it's not somewhere that they're going to get to be, but they can at least then look towards the future more. Okay, we're starting to make that progress. What worked right for us last time? And the more victories we can get, the better. Now facing off against Envy, but Envy was looking super strong in Game 1 and Game 2.
So that's shrapnel for Mr. Aspect here today. Pretty standard stuff for everyone here on Envious. Though Ash is not exactly standard, so Slugshot will be her selection. That gun looks really cool in gold. He's a level 50. He earned all 50 levels at least. He didn't buy a single one of them, I'm convinced. He's got all the standard issue Victor loadout cards to compete at a high level. Now he's just looking for that opportunity.
I do like this gun in gold.
It's just
so
a
cool.
sick gun. The gun is so cool.
Even not in gold, I remember first time I saw it, I was like, oh, it's a wolf on the top. Like, facing you, it's so cool. And then in gold, it's just that much sweeter. But is that going to be enough to handle himself against Envy when you've got...
Man, that's a scary 1,200 damage rocket coming down the barrel.
Pretty nasty. Envy, 66% right now on the point. And Rock Monkey looking down the scope. That's not somebody I want to deal with at all.
Go Victor. Yay. Go get him.
He's trying, my friend. He did really well with this during that last set where they got the victory. It was a couple Victor plays on things like Fish Market. Good use of knowing when to hold on to part of that ultimate and when to just blast it all the way through. But Splyce, they've made a little bit of a turnaround here on the objective. They've passed 50%. You see Buck pressuring on the side, facing off against Rubu on the opposite end. And Random Noob on the Drogo. See, is shooting these far off. Doesn't quite get the complete kill, but still effective. Seismic crash onto the point terminus. We heard Tolkien facing off against the competition. But a few ultimates more. Dread Serpent and Buckwild. Buckwild walking right on through it. Finds his target. Gets blasted from the air. Rock Monkey says, not today, my friend. I'm keeping my friends safe.
That is such a sick shot from Rock Monkey. Still have a lot of work to do, though. If your team Envious, barrage incoming. It's going to connect as well. Aspect picks up 2. Rubu fighting for his life. If Envious are able to win this fight, it will be all because of Rubu. He connects the shoulder bash. Rubu finds a 3rd. Rubu finds a 4th. He's looking for all 5. He's gonna get it! Triple kill. Rubu wins the fight single-handedly.
I don't care that you took away my Nando. I can still do things on the... You want to challenge me? You want to see what else I can do on other frontliners? Okay, I got you. Here's my Ashe play. And I can just imagine... You get so excited. He's a very expressive guy. So I imagine him just sitting at his computer while this happened and thinking, look at me now!
Punches his monitor. Oops. I thought it was over, guys. My bad.
Meta?
I mean, we needed one more top play for Esports Week. I think we just found it.
Yeah, that's what he heard. I got you
good,
guys.
because that's like a 45-second play. That, you know, it's Ashe. She's not blowing anyone up. Random Noob trying to fill in the shoes, the shadow left by Rubu this round.
He's like, I got triple kill, guys. Isn't that so cool?
Hey, isn't that neat? Oh, all right.
That's the thing when you follow up on someone like Ashe, we've talked about. Whenever she is brought to the table, it's like, she's not going to be somebody to just completely shut someone down. She's there for a little extra poke. But right then, that's probably one of the closest dragon punches we've seen in quite a while, winding up right next to your target to take him out. And Envy, I think Rubu probably just instilled a lot of excitement in them, and it carried all the way through that push.
Gets the cooldown reset on all of his abilities as well. This shoulder bash ends up being key, and this is a huge moment. Hitting this or missing this was really big for this fight. Aspect, I don't know what his plan was there, but he runs out into the firing line as Rubu, all the corpses scattered amongst the battlefield. He is the last man standing, or woman, I suppose I should say, as he crushes all 5 Splyce skulls under his boot.
Also, Envy is really good about understanding that they need to emote immediately after those, so that when we play the replay, it ends on Tolkien. When we showed his Quadra on Zen, he's like, here's the spray and here's the emote. Ruby's like, okay, I got this. Let me just stand here and give you that moment. So good on you guys. Always making sure that we have it for the replay.
I was already ready to give Rubu MVP for that fight because of the way he was able to dive, create space with the Ashe ultimate, surviving a 2v1 and getting a Dread Serpent all out on just himself. The fact that he makes it back in to then win it all without a doubt, without an undisputable moment. Ryan Rubu Wong really making it work on a character that is so infrequently selected.
He could have stopped earlier and we would have still been very impressed, but he just kept on going. And right now, Splyce are trying to keep themselves in this fight. Another Dread Serpent, some far shots coming off of Rock Monkey, but still looking for his targets to land. Lots of ultimates online as well. 3 for Envy if they need to bring him out, but Random Noob gets a kill onto Shadow. Here's the assert dominance on the side, contributing to the closeout of those kills. This 9 streak looking to continue it even higher. I can see it just becoming 10 right now if he can finish off, but a little slippery on that snake. And there you go. The last hit gets found onto G-Bunny.
Is he still top damage? I mean, this is just getting a little what the? The hell, this Envious front line. Come on, Rock. Come on, Random. Jeez, pick it up, boys. Pick it up.
I was not expecting that.
Sleeping. I mean, it's a very tight race. Don't get me wrong. 32,000 at the bottom end.
Still really funny.
58, but that's just absurd. I mean, this Terminus, he's got to be whipping some butt on the front line, just smacking Inara on cooldown.
Everyone's adding their 2 cents. That's just what it comes down to. On the point, Tolkien swinging away into Inara. Rubu is just rotating around, getting those kills. On this push, we've seen the triple kill already come out of Random Noob and still be free firing the entire time. And a Rock Monkey from his far spot, so not always able to get all these really like back-to-back shots off with this Kinessa, but still landing the ones that he does aim for. And this is a minute 30 on the clock, but Envy streaks flying high. I don't know how much time they're going to need with this type of pressure.
Not much longer. Here comes the Headhunter. Here comes the last-ditch effort. The Headhunters pop. The trigger is pulled. One's already found for Shani Boswell, but Envy, they go ahead and put Splyce out of their misery.
Wow. Envy.
That was sick, man.
Yeah, I liked that. It was fun. It's fun when you get to see like Ashe and stuff come show out.
Yeah, in that type of way as well. You don't really see her play. Maybe that has something to do with it, right? Whenever a champion like that, a viable champion that just isn't picked off and comes back in, people forget how to play against it. People forget what you can do with it.
He was doing that all by himself too. He just looked in so
That
many
was
grayed out cams.
I mean, obviously he probably got some healing along the way, but that was legitimately all Ryan Wong.
You gotta love him for it. So Team Envy coming off of their last match where things didn't go as well for them in their battle with G2 back and forth. Here, gotta have that confidence back and saying, okay, we are contenders to come to that LAN once more. But that's it for us here in Caster Booth Studio number 5. Let's send it back to the desk to close out your day.
Thanks, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today. Obviously, we did just see a great performance from Envy. And man, oh man, those front lines, Rubu, especially on that Ashe, was phenomenal. The plays that he was making, the save of that round, and just the overall dominance on champion we don't often see, Gormizer.
This, to me, is I think what happens when it's like, man, everyone always talks about Rock Monkey. Everyone's always talking about Tulky. How do we talk about Rubu for a second? We go in, look at the front lines, and that is something that is, again, you kind of glance over him sometimes, I want to say. Tulky this time was able to switch on to the front line again, kind of changing pace from when he was doing really well on Leon and doing really well on Terminus instead.
And Tulky was fantastic on that Terminus, and he's such a good player for this team, and he's one of the best, I think, multicast, like a Sheepa-ish in Europe. I really hearken him to that, but his game is just so good in so many facets, from the front line to the flex on the damage when you need him. And Rubu just comes out swinging with that Ashe for sure. So that's how that wraps up. Envy with a 3-0. It was not anything surprising to those who follow the league and who may be watching now if you saw Game 1 and Game 2, because they had to do it. Take a look at the standings here. Envy now in a lead over Renegades as far as the amount of games lost. However, Renegades have played one more game than Envy, so Envy now have to continue winning in order to truly take the lead, because yes, something could happen crazy if SK goes wrong. I mean, we hope it doesn't, but if they play SK and they play Renegades, if they go ahead and lose to SK, then there is a chance for Renegades to be able to outright win and push themselves into the finals. But barring that, Envy control essentially their own fate to get there.
It's going to be a difficult path, I want to say, to go down. You're kind of, I want to say, on shaky waters, and you're not too sure about it, although especially after today, I feel like they've steadied the boat that was kind of shaking in the middle of the split. And it's similar to what happened at the end of the last split, where it was like, I don't know where these guys are going. It was a really strong start, kind of weak in the middle, but it was just weaker than what they had before, and now it seems like they have completely righted every wrong.
Well, let's take a look again at the schedule for the upcoming week, the last week in the PPL. And as you can see, in North America and Europe, we will be rotating Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday between those regions. NIP, big one against Na'Vi. Fnatic should clean that up against Virtus Pro, but always looking to be surprised. A huge one as well, NIP versus Fnatic. If NIP can get the win against Na'Vi and get the win against Fnatic, they may very well find themselves going to LAN, which would be a tremendous achievement for them, coming in from what they did last season as well, missing out on their first LAN. Those players since the beginning of Paladins Esports. DreamHack is coming up, and it's going to be in HRX November time. Not January time, November time. Get used to that. November 16th through 18th. Get your tickets now at highresexpo.com. highresexpo.com. Grab your tickets, and we will see you there. Gormizer, Gabby, Pretty Hair, production, admins. You guys are great. Thanks, Vox and Nick and Auburn, for holding down this community side of things. And enjoy your Fridays, people. Go ahead and enjoy the games that we love to make and you love to play. As always, never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all in a round.